Hallo, hallo?
Sag mal was. Ja, ich rede, aber... Hallo, Test? Ja, das ist besser.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's the day of the day. It's the demo day of Imagine2030 Mobility Accelerator. My name is Friedrich Gustavs. I'm co-founder of MotionLab.Berlin, and that's also the place where we are today. MotionLab.Berlin is a hardware innovation hub and also the home base of 5 super exciting startups, which did an amazing job in the last months in our Accelerator program. You will meet them this evening. It's Horizer, Velofracht, PantoHealth, Akkio, and UMA. And I'm also enjoyed it so much what you have achieved in the last 8 months. You worked on your business model, you used our machinery, you used our community to build an amazing prototype which you present everyone this evening. And I also enjoyed it a lot to work with an amazing partner, Sharkbite Innovation, an innovative and impact-driven company builder. And that's a perfect moment to give the words to my awesome colleague, Tristan, the project leader of Imagine2030. Have a great evening, enjoy it, and good luck.
Yes, thank you so much for this amazing, nice and kind and warm introduction and those warm words. It was a pleasure working with you, even though I joined the team recently, but we enjoyed having you, Motion Lab, as a strong partner for this project. So we are really excited to be here today at the Motion Lab to basically celebrate the achievement of our startup teams, because that's what this evening is all about, right? Let me tell you a little bit about the program, about Imagine2030. So Imagine2030 is an accelerator program supporting startup teams to realize and develop ideas and products which have the potential to actually change the future of urban mobility. And we're very proud about that. It's important to note and to state out as well that our teams don't just focus on profit, but they focus on impact as well. That's a very important point of the program. So after 8 months of working on their business models and prototypes, the startups teams will showcase their work and vision today. They will do so by pitching, showing a video of the prototype they made, and answering questions in a virtual booth setting after the stage show. So we're also very, very excited that we have a very interesting and good keynote speaker, which will be Soheila Aufata, who is Director of Platform at BMW I Ventures. She will be joining us later on to deliver the keynote. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to Laura and to Taylor. Let's say the 2 masterminds behind this program. Who really did an amazing job, and they will take you back on a journey through the past 8 months. So let's give it up for Laura and for Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tristan. And so, good evening, everyone. We are very happy to be here. And imagine it is the year 2030, and we turned this planet in a better place. This is what will automatically happen if we achieved all 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Those goals here that have been developed by the United Nations already in 2015. This is our opportunity to put the world on a more sustainable course. And for us, for Motion Lab, and for Sharkbite, it is our inspiration and our compass for innovation. And this is, by the way, what also this program is all about. So, backed by the Berliner Senat and the European Social Fund, we were able to support teams that were crazy enough to present their ideas to us that enable a system change in mobility. And during the last 8 months, we had the opportunity to support them in turning those ideas into businesses. So let's introduce a little bit what we did with those teams in the last 8 months. And we always say we have 2 superpowers. So the one superpower is the normal business building program, a very hands-on business building and prototype building support. And the other one maybe is a bit more unusual. This is about building zebra companies, about building a zebra ecosystem. And we have to say, we are really proud that we were one of the first accelerators here in Europe that has the zebras thinking inside. And we are also a proud partner of the Zebra Unite movement coming from the US. So what does it mean? Well, our zebra companies, they are like the animal, the zebra. They are very proud, they have their own will, but they also know what it means and how positive it is to be in the herd. They are black and white as the animals, so they are on the one hand for a social purpose, but on the other hand, they want to be successful and they are for profit. And the partnership, it's all about partnerships. And they really want to nurture the society, nurture the ecosystem, and be there for each other. And this is also the mindset that we implemented in the last 8 months here in the program. We are still on our way of building this program, but it was already a great start. So, great start is a good keyword. So let's throw us back to the beginning of January. Do you remember that? So Taylor, this was a completely different world. There was no Corona. We could do a great event here with 150 people, completely different than today, unfortunately. And it was great. We had a wonderful panel on stage. We were here with Volker Käse from Audi, who did all the way from Ingolstadt here. We had Frank Pavlicek, who showed us how you can really build a sustainable mobility company. We also had Louis Speer from InnoEnergy, and we had our project manager and also moderator Kai Malkwitz on stage. That was really a wonderful start, right, Taylor? But it got even better when we could welcome our teams here, right?
Yes, so after we had finally selected our 5 teams, we were happy to welcome you here in MotionLab.Berlin. We kicked off with a 2-day bootcamp in which you were able to raise your expectations for the day and get to know one another. And at this point, Laura, I want to know, do you think Gregor put down the expectation to grow out his hair?
I don't really know.
But we also got into our first sessions in our Maker Garage. These were led up by Kai, where we not only got to know one another and discuss what sustainable business models we want to achieve, but also what we would like to develop in terms of a prototype. Yes, but then it happened. Corona hit us, and boy, did it hit. This meant that we had to flexibly change our whole structure and move to online boot camps. This was a challenge, but together with you guys in the true zebra format, we managed to overcome. And that is when we got feedback, not only from you, but also amongst each other. And thanks to our great organizational lead, as well as you, we, along with Teresa, Kai, and our lead mentor and coach, Daria Markova, managed to get through this tough time.
Yeah, and Corona also meant that we had to completely change our ecosystem strategy because we wanted to build a zebra herd and we wanted to do it with events. But then with Corona, of course, that was not possible. And we know we are not the only ones, but also for us, it was a challenge. But again, it worked very well because we had those wonderful speakers such as Valerian Seiter from Emmy, who was able to introduce us in a very, very good way, his e-scooter sharing service. But then we also had the great Lubu Miller, who inspired us with her purpose-driven company, Plan A Earth. There was Natalie from RepairFix talking about positive partnership building. We had Björn from Wunder Mobility also showing us how Wunder is really driving forward a sustainable mobility all over the world. And we even had Lily from Tomorrow Bank, who showed us how you can build a purpose-driven bank. Very interesting.
Indeed.
There was also Christoph Berger from Willisto, also showing us again how important partnerships are. And there was my wonderful colleague Andrea who showed us the concept of circular economy and teach our teams how to integrate this idea already in their business models. So lots of learnings, but I think we agree that the most exciting event that we could do remotely was the one with Jakob Hornbach from
Borovak, all the way from Uganda.
That was really interesting. And that was also exciting because he taught us something completely new. He taught us how you can do frugal innovation in hardware building. And we had to learn that also we have maybe to get our over perfectionism in Europe. So that was really interesting. And you can also see it on the screen here that he showed us you can even put 7 people on one motorbike. Do you think this is the future of sustainable mobility?
I'm not quite sure if it's the safest nor the most comfortable option, but let's just wait and see, I think. Yes, and then after the Corona regulations got a bit more lighter, we were finally able to host boot camps here back in person, live at Motion Lab, of course, with Corona safety regulations in place. We kicked off with a bootcamp in finance and sales in which we got to understand how one best approaches a customer and how to better strategically put up your company in terms of finances. And then came possibly my favorite bootcamp. Now, spirits were high. I'm not quite sure if this was because we just got word that our program had been extended or if it was the great weather. But we dove into a bootcamp filled with pitching and learning about your narrative. And here we were live up on stage working on skits where we dove into cowboys and robbers, essentially, or Indians in that case. And then we even got to see Jonas and Nico play as a couple at selling their cargo bikes. But we also dove into working on our prototypes. And this is where we learned a lot from one another. On one hand, just look how far Uma came from concept on idea paper all the way to an actual product. And then also in addition to that, we moved on and in true zebra fashion, worked in terms of lending each other equipment, in terms of welding equipment, learned how to weld from one another, but also used our own products for another startup in terms of a use case. It was fantastic.
Indeed. And the demo day is not only the day to showcase the solutions of the startups, although this is of course the most important reason to be here, but it's also the day to say thank you. And there is a special group that really worked hard also for our startups, and this is our wonderful mentors. So we want to say a big thank you to our mentors, to Anne, to Daria, to Javier, to Jonathan, to Luis, to Mario, and to Sarah. So thank you very much for all your input, for your weekly sessions. Without all your work, the startups wouldn't be where they are today. Thank you very much for that. And then, although we said you already, the startups are the stars, there's another group that we really have to praise and we have to say thank you. And this is the Imagine2030 team. So without this team, there wouldn't be here any startup, no program, no training, no event. So thanks a lot, dear team. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Uli. Thank you, Kai, Teresa, and thank you, Fridtjof. You're just awesome. Thanks a lot for all the hard work during the 8 months. We're already looking forward to the next batch. But this is not yet the time.
Of course, though, I must quickly mention, without you, Laura, none of this would have been possible. So a huge thank you goes out to you too. Now, before we dive into the pitches and where you get to hear personally from the pitchies and the startups what they've been working on, let me briefly introduce you to Gregor and Yannick from Akkio, Aitan and Sujit from Humane Hybrid.
Today called Huma, right?
Well, now they're called Huma, exactly. And the ever-growing Horizer team that is compiled up of Yasmina, Diana, Hannes, Martin, and Mirko. We have Morteza, Fazad, and Mina from PantoHealth. And finally, we have Jonas and Nico, the founders of Velofracht. So let's get going, let's get cracking. Tristan, are you ready? Let's go.
Let's go, indeed.
This way.
Thank you.
So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Taylor, for this amazing throwback. What a journey and what an adventure it has been. And don't worry, Gregor, we actually like your new hairstyle, so don't worry about that. So I want to introduce the first startup. We're ready for the first pitch. It's going to be Horizer, and Horizer is working very, very hard to power every cooling fan with solar energy. Let's give it up for Hannes.
Hello. Thanks, Tristan. Whoops. Hello. We are Horizer. My name is Hannes, and we're turning any vehicle into a solar generator to save costs, fuel, and CO2 emissions. Oh, technical problems, sorry. Actually, we are facing 300 million vehicles on European roads running on fossil fuels, which is lead to 800 million tons of CO2 emissions. Our solution to tackle this problem will be a combination of a hardware solution, which are flexible, lightweight solar panels, high efficient rate, with a combination to a microcontroller, to a charge controller, the power electronics to bring the electricity into the vehicle. And this will be brought to the customer via our installation service network with nationwide partners, which are able to install our solution in less than 1 hour to any vehicle. And the customer has a carefree and all-in-one solution. The whole thing will be wound up by a data service, which means we are collecting all the data, the energy generation and the consumption in the vehicle, and we will make it visible. It's actually the whole energy off-grid market, the solar off-grid market, totally underrated market or the energy, which is the potential we can generate there. And we will make it visible to also commercialize this customer segment. Our market entry will be the cooling market, so the transport cooling for trucks and vans. This is a classical B2B business. We are looking for 6.5 million cooling vehicles on European roads, which leads to 5.9 million euros they spend in fuel only to run the cooling systems, and which creates also a waste of 15 million tons of CO2 emissions. This is actually a big market, and we are planning to tackle this challenge. Right now we see here a small business model on a cooling van, like the classical Sprinter we see on every day in daily traffic. Our solution would cost the combination, the hardware combination, 1,400 euros. And this will save between 20 and 40% of the fuel consumption used for the cooling. And the price they would pay for it would return, or they save actually, they would return in 2 years. That means a very reasonable investment for any fleet operator who has 10, 20 or 30 vehicles in their fleet. And as I mentioned, we will install it over 300 installation points in very short time. This is actually the market potential we figured out in Europe. So this is measured by the potential revenue we would do by selling our hardware solution, which is around about 15 billion on vans and trucks. If we would only take 1% market share of this potential, which is a reasonable target, I would say, so we would facing 150 million euros revenue a year. Our roadmap we see on this slide, we started beginning of this year with the initial idea of Horizer, of the business model or the concept itself. We jumped into this awesome Accelerator program in March. We are actually working on our prototype. You can see on our booth afterwards. And also on pilot projects, we are actually starting with some companies, some fleets, and our goal will be by middle of next year to have already the first 10 paying customers served with our solution. So the prototypes we are actually working on, here are some pictures. The first one is a cooling box for a cargo velo transportation vehicle, which is used for medical transportation, so medicine, etc., which has to be cooled. We equip it with our solar solution. We have also in the middle a cooling trailer. We see our awesome team. This is for film catering. The typical trailer, you have food and everything in it, which can cool down to 0 degrees and which runs fine off-grid right now only from solar and battery. And also we equipped autonomous driving little robot here within our program, which has a range extent through our panel by 50%. Our pilot customers, companies here from Berlin, they are very willing to work with us. They offered us each one vehicle we can equip with our solution, and they would even pay for it already. And we are looking in when it's a successful running system and we have numbers and convincing arguments, which in theory already working, then we would equip the whole fleet. And only in Berlin, we are looking for more than 100 additional customers with fleets between 10 and 50 vehicles to transport cooled goods. This is our team, our awesome team. We are well prepared to tackle this solution. We have experience in solar. We have marketing experts. We have engineers, scientists. We have also awesome advisors, people, colleagues working on the whole formal stuff. And finally, we have already good experience in our team and looking forward for many years working together. So our next steps, we are looking for funding, seed funding to push especially our product development right now. Therefore, we need around about 100,000 euros. We need 150,000 euros to drive our sales and our business development. And we are also looking for further customers we can equip with our solution. So especially, as I mentioned, in the area of cooling fleets, trucks, vans, etc. Very appreciating any link or leads to some more contacts, and also to increase our team. We want to, especially in the area of product development, we need people with technical skills and experts. So finally, we want to commercialize this mobile solar application and for a more sustainable transport sector. So thank you very much for your attention. Right now we want to show a short video, and afterwards I'm very happy to see you on our booth.
First of all, thank you very much, Hannes, for this very nice pitch, for the nice video. It sounds really promising and interesting. I'm not a technical expert, so can you tell us a little bit about how the system actually works, please?
Yeah, so we have different approaches. The first approach is like we integrate our solar system into the existing car electrics. That means so we would power the auxiliary electrics, the cooling, the windshields, etc. What you need with an electric motor or other electric components, and drive it directly with our solar generation. So we use the existing battery, we fit our generated energy right into the system. And the second approach is like we do it completely off-grid. So that means we install our own battery system and run the cooling completely independently from the existing car electrics. We have also some collaboration or some interesting contacts to companies who are building like this kind of mobile application batteries, and this will actually be our USP, like the producing also electronic parts which fitting exactly this need.
Thanks for this answer. Sounds really sounds really good. Sounds really promising. It was a pleasure having you in the program. Looking forward to see your product on the market, and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have a solution I can only hope to have one day, because I know it's a big pain in my life. Here we have our semi-autonomous delivery vehicle represented by Uma and Suchit.
Have your online shopping experience ever been disrupted by poor delivery services? Mine was. I ordered a lot of packages and all I received was a receipt that my package has either been delivered to a shop that will close by the time I receive from my office, or it is delivered to a neighbor who lives 2 blocks down the street. And that's how I found out that the last mile delivery needs to be fixed. I'm Sujit Sharma, I'm a robotics engineer, and I took it as a duty to fix this problem. So I started researching with the delivery companies, and they told me that last mile delivery is one of the most complex part of the whole entire delivery. It takes half of the time and 1/3 of the cost of the entire delivery. People are most of the time not at home, and finding alternate solutions like packet stations increases cost to much more higher. The vehicles that are used by these companies, they are not allowed in traffic-free zones. Being 30% of the entire traffic, they cause 80% of the entire city congestion. And running 60 to 80 kilometers per day, they cause 7,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year, which is more than their own weight. And electrification is super expensive. The employees of these companies, they are also super stressed, overworked, and they have only 3 minutes to deliver packages. So this also causes a lot of problem due to mistakes under stressy situations. So these are a lot of problems, and this makes the entire last mile delivery more complex and inefficient. And we have our solution for it, UMA. Robots have proved over the time that they are more cost and time efficient for repetitive and boring tasks. Being zero emission, they also offer flexibility, which means by a click of an app, you can order your delivery at 10 o'clock in the night at your friend's address. And we are not replacing the people in the jobs. We are actually semi-autonomous. So we are creating new jobs as surveillance for the people. I will explain later in the next slides. So our operation domain includes campus and docks from where we start, and then we go to more complex scenarios. When the autonomous driving fails, people in the call center will take over the robot and help it. For this, we have collaboration with BWB, which is a center for providing employment for disabled people. This is our journey. We started with 2 robot bases, which we produce ourselves, and indoor navigation. In May, during peak of Corona, we did a human-controlled delivery in a bakery in Berlin. In September, we tested our autonomous delivery in MotionLab campus. And then we had a new look for our robot, installed solar panels, and improved our navigation. And voila, this is our robot. It can do autonomous navigation in a closed environment while navigating and doing obstacle avoidance using 5 sensors by itself. Our approach is also quite different from other companies. So most of the delivery companies you see on the left side, they try to go directly on the street and then they hit technological and legislative barriers. While we try to learn from other companies in the robotics area, which are quite successful, and try to use our technologies in different fields and slowly hit the street when we are more stable and learn the basics of the field. Our customers, we have deep interest from one of the biggest package delivery services in the world. Apart from that, we already have interest from 5 companies, 3 of whom have already signed LOI. We are doing pilots, and next week we might have a paid contract with one of these companies. And application includes maintenance robot for solar power plant, docking and shipping companies, and also a power plant in another country. This is from last Friday. We did our first pilot project. You might say it's indoors, but the learnings that we had in this cluttered environment will help us to navigate also in a cluttered city center. The market for autonomous delivery robots is increasing to 3.5 times in the next 7 years to 54 billion euros. To make adoption easy for our customers, we offer robot as a service model, which is like hardware as a service, where our flat prices are much more lower than what they already pay for the last mile delivery. This is our team. I'm Suchit Sharma, a machine learning and robotics engineer. Hitendra and Akshay, they are business developers. And Itan, he's an expert in industrial design and hardware making. He made the beautiful body over our robot. And we have our advisors, experienced entrepreneurs, Kai and Mario, and Andreas, expert in autonomous driving. So today is the last day of the Accelerator, but the show must go on. And for us, we plan to do pilot projects next year. And for that, we have to develop our hardware and software and also get ready for seed fundings next year in the 3rd quarter. And for that, we are raising pre-seed investments of 75 to 100K now. So if you are interested, please talk to us in our booth in Hopin. And now I will not leave you with a boring presentation. In the end, I will show you the demo that what we have made in the last 8 months. That's Uma. Thanks.
Fantastic. What a great pitch. Thank you, Suchit. And I must say, I've seen your robot around here. We all have. And now through your video, the audience got to see it too. But the big question becomes, when will we see it on the streets of Berlin?
So unofficially, our robot was already on the streets in May during Corona times. But actually, according to recent newspaper article, the German government is already making regulations for robots and autonomous drivers vehicles on the street from 2022. And according to our calculations, we will be on the streets in 3 years.
3 more years. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Give it up for Suchit.
Thanks.
So up next is Akkio, my favorite team in the whole universe. Akkio is building a battery-powered train shuttle for the countryside. So we're very excited to learn more about that. Let's give a very, very warm welcome to Gregor and Yannick.
Thank you, Tristan, for having us, and thank you, MotionLab. Hi, we are Akkio, and we tackle the following problem. Everybody wants to move to the countryside. Now, the problem is if you decide to do that, the first thing you're actually going to go to is the car dealership, because getting to and around the countryside is quite a nightmare. Now, the worst part about that nightmare is that we all are paying for it. 8.8 billion euros per year is what we pay for a service that doesn't really work. Now, why doesn't it work? The customer experience for the regional train is basically you stand there at the platform and then you wait for 2 or 3 hours until a very large train arrives for 30 people. This is quite a misfit and is very costly because we are paying basically for the large train without transporting enough people with it. The result is a death spiral. You basically have too little passengers that are fit into 2 big trains. Then these trains are cut, and as a result, you wait longer and get a shittier service that results in less passengers. In the end, the mobility operators currently cannot provide for the current existing problem and the passengers and the passenger numbers that are in the countryside, because they do not have an offer that fits. We are Akkio, and this is our solution to that problem. We want to deliver autonomous battery-driven shuttles that are smaller in size and allow for an optimum of 30 to 40 passengers. The systemic advantages are that by using rail, we are still getting way better efficiency. We are at 90% less energy consumption than any comparable thing on the street. We can, through our autonomy, be running in high frequency. And in the end, we are way more cost effective than other solutions out there. Our social impact goes beyond the mere service. We want to advance less car use and a cleaner mobility overall. We want to open up these funds, these 8.8 billion that we talked about in the beginning, to better causes. And we want to improve life in the countryside.
Thanks, Gregor. All right, let's talk about some numbers. And starting with the market potential. So we analyzed this by looking at the available lines, railway lines in Germany, and looking at lines that are like up to 60 kilometers, roughly, and in low population areas. And we found 600 to 800. That would mean that we have space for roughly 1,000 Akkio shuttles. With a unit size of 600K, this would amount to a market size of 600 million for Germany. But why would our customers actually use and employ these shuttles over others, normal trains? Because of our advantage. We focus directly on the niche of 300 to 800 passengers, so low amounts of population, the countryside. You can see here that the usual electric trains or diesel engines, they operate well with 1,000 or 2,000 customers a day, but they struggle when you get to low numbers like you have in these countrysides. And that's where we come in. Usually, a rail is flagged for shutdown once it reaches 600 or less passengers a day. But that's where we operate very well. How do you do that? Let's look at the costs a bit. Here you can see a comparison of the same track, 60 kilometers, with hourly service. That means you need to provide 2 vehicles running at the same time. The diesel train, you can see directly, can transport many more customers. You have 2,000 per day. And we can provide service for 700 only. But with that, we're much cheaper. And you can see here also where this savings come from. It's in maintenance, in the initial costs, and in energy and fuel. Right now, the usage of tracks is the most expensive cost, and we hope we can reduce that as well because we're much lighter and autonomous, so it would need less amount for that. But already we save 27% on the total cost. So what are we doing to get to this vision? Me and Gregor, we built here in the Motion Lab our prototype, which you can see here, that is running on a test track east of Berlin, where we have 15 kilometers that we can use. And there we develop the autonomy, the vehicle automation, obstacle recognition, and I just turned something off, and use it for data collection. But that's not that's only one of the challenges that we have to face, how to make autonomy and how to make data collection. We do this, as you can see here, with our prototype, but also we plan next year to do put our sensors into museum trains that ride all across the country, and that we can actually take live data from real tracks. The next challenge that we're tackling is the investment and seed funding. So far, we convinced Imagine2030 to kindly take us in, but now we're looking actively for a seed fund of 700K. And I'm going to show you in a minute what we're going to do with this, because this is directly involving the next challenge that we're tackling, namely regulation and market entry. And that's probably the hardest. So let me show you how we're going to do that. We are preparing to start a project with a German harbor that asked us to develop a fully autonomous battery-driven shuttle for freight transport, so to move a container on their tracks. This project can be funded with state funding of 1.2 million and enables us to have regulation and market entry. As you can see on our investor map, we need the 700K to develop this, and then this will lead to a marketable product, namely the container transport. It will probably provide intellectual property and experienced team and technical knowledge, as well as already experience with a certification body. And this is the harbor prototype. And then in Series A, we will provide the MVP for public transport. And in Series B, go for scaling, build the German market, go into European markets. So yeah, that's short of it. This is our team and our partners. We hope we convinced you so far and got you curious, and you have a bunch of questions now. So we're happy to answer these in our booth. But first, we're going to show you our quick movie about how we actually do with a prototype. Thank you.
What if I told you that nearly all of the German countryside holds the key to unlock a perfectly sustainable future mobility? You would be as impatient as we are. Our first humble prototype of an autonomous shuttle can carry 2 people and our sensor setup. At our test track, we can record stereoscopic 3D data in order to solve object recognition. We have 2 goals for our prototype. We want to finalize our sensor setup for our partner trains, and we want to learn how to recognize objects and brake for them. There's one big learning that we have already, which is that we can see perfectly well at night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, guys. A brilliant pitch, a brilliant video as well. It looks like you had a lot of fun actually filming it. So you convinced me to move to the countryside as well. So you guys are looking for investment, right? For 700K. So tell us, what will you actually do with the money?
Yeah, so we plan to do multiple things with it. The most important part is that it will be, with the 700K investment, we are able to unlock 1.2 million in state funding for the freight pilot project. We will be able to start building our team and basically start looking for additional pilot projects and customers.
Great, thanks. So best of luck with getting the investment. Best of luck with everybody or everything after this program. It was a real honor and pleasure to have you in the program. Thanks again, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone on the TV.
So the next point, I think we're ready for our keynote speaker joining us remotely. So it's a great pleasure, a great honor to introduce to you guys Sohaila Alfata, Director of Platform at BMW iVentures, and also one of the lead female voices in tech, I must say. So I've had the pleasure to work with Sohaila before in the past. It has always been a very great pleasure. Sohaila is going to share her thoughts tonight about the future of mobility, and we're curious to hear about that. So the floor is yours, Sohaila, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Sometimes you need to wait a little bit in life for all the technical setup works. I'm happy to be here today with you and talk a little bit about my perspective of the future mobility space. My name is Sohaila, as mentioned before, and I think today is actually a perfectly interesting day to think about the future of mobility, imagining what 2030 will look like, given the context of the US elections. And some of you might ask or wonder why I see a direct connection and interaction sort of between the US election and our future-oriented, visionary type of event. And the context that I see is that the US election is a very good example of a deeply polarized society. In this society, it is all about us versus them. And this is a good example for a society that is experiencing a deep sense of separateness, which is nurtured by a narrative by people that have a large platform. And if you think about yourself as a founder maybe of a zebra company, you are tackling a business with a purpose of wanting to see change, solving a systematic problem, tackling injustice, or overall with a wish to have a larger impact. So you might be also sort of tempted to think about yourself and your company as us versus them, the others, the unicorns, the OEMs, the traditional startups, the traditional investors, all of that. And that in a sense is pretty much the same as the narrative of us versus them, if you think about it. And the point that I'm sort of trying to make here is that in a sense, it is more about us together. It's more about oneness. And if you think about it, we are all in this together, for the good and for the worse. We all have to deal with the consequences of climate change, social injustice, the exploitation of resources. The only difference there might be between you, me, or maybe a woman in Africa that might be working a low-wage job in the agricultural sector is that she will be much faster and much harder confronted with the consequences of climate change. And then you, me, or any founder of a zebra company or founder of a unicorn. So the point I'm trying to make here is that at the end of the day, it is all one. We are not separated from each other. We all connected. We are all part of one planet. We are all part of a larger ecosystem. So whatever respective ecosystem you belong to, you're part of it, just as any other stakeholders, no matter how separated you might think you are from them. So if you actually want to make a difference with your business, a first step could be to see yourself, your company, your intentions as part of a larger system, as part of a transformation, a system that actually needs to thrive, to improve. And you actually have the opportunity to be that positive influence and that part transforming the ecosystem with your company. My name is Sohela Ofata. I am with BMW I Ventures, which is the 500 million euro corporate venture capital arm of the BMW Group. We are around since 2011, which gave us the opportunity to start and make investments in the mobility space right at the peak, at the time where Uber, Lyft, and all of these new players sort of entered the market and started to transform the business. So ever since, we have been one of the most active mobility investors globally. We are headquartered in the Silicon Valley. You are now with me virtually in my country home outside of Munich, in the middle of nowhere, pretty much, where I spend a lot of time these days as lives in cities is becoming more and more busy. And I personally have the firm belief that I, as a person, as an investor, as a deep tech investor, have a responsibility to fuel the transformations, the technologies, and the companies that will help to make a long-lasting shift and change in the mobility space. So today, I was asked and invited to speak to you about a couple of trends and movements I see in the mobility space. And while we're super limited in time, and I can tell the organizers already, I'm Moroccan, so I'm not going to watch the time. I'm just going to talk, and you guys get to give me a signal once we're running out of time, because I probably will not watch the time perfectly. So pretty much when we think about mobility and the future of mobility, we might want to ask ourselves, what is a new normal? What is the new normal in mobility going to look like post-pandemic or in the midst of the pandemic? So there are a couple of short-term developments that I sort of would like to touch up on and make sure that sort of you folks are aware of. I mean, obviously, we see, and I've touched up on this already, a huge shift towards home office, and people that, you know, used to commute every day to work don't have to do that anymore. And that changes everything. It changes how many people live in a city, how many people have to move within a city. It will change property prices. It changes the prices of large office buildings, which are now all empty. This has a massive impact. And for everyone that has ever thought about human behavior and human change, it takes 6 weeks for a person to change. And we're now talking about a time frame of a year to a year and a half. So my prediction here clearly is that people will not go back to business as usual, living somewhere in a dense, tiny urban environment, and then commuting long distances to work. We will most likely see a hierarchy in mobility in regards to social distancing options. There might be people that are moving more towards, you know, personal vehicle type of mobility solutions, given the security concerns or the concerns around the health. There will be a larger movement. We see that already. Folks moving to micromobility in order to avoid public transportation. Again, at the same time, not everyone has the option to do that. So there will be, depending on the progress of the pandemic, be type of hierarchy in mobility modalities, driven by the perceived safety of the mobility options. In terms of a midterm perspective in the public transportation, we will surely see that a lot more formerly inefficient routes will sort of be more under pressure because there is less volume on public transportation. So there are certain routes which are extremely inefficient in terms of an economical perspective, where city officials might be now more open and willing to talk to new startups, young mobility solutions that are, you know, trying to tackle the issue of these inefficient routes. It is important to talk in the context of the urban sort of public transportation system about also the disparities we see. So all of you know how hard New York was hit in the pandemic. And we've seen numbers in the pandemic. So technically we have seen numbers in the midst of the sort of March, April timeframe in the pandemic where there was a massive decline in the usage of public transport in New York. But out of the people that continue to use public transport, over 60% were of African-American descent or Latin. So guess what? These people did not choose to take the metro because they just perfectly love to drive in a tiny metal box, which is not disinfected in the midst of a pandemic. They did not have another choice. This was the only option to get to work, to put bread at table, to feed their kids, and to survive. And this is a good example that shows us how mobility has a massive impact on society and how social injustice becomes sort of more visible through mobility. One other point, I'm just checking, everyone is telling me they hear me clearly. Lovely. You guys let me know if you don't hear me clearly anymore. So one other point, one trend, and these are all, just to give you context, this is all my opinion. This is all what I think will be happening, the trends, and you all are welcome to disagree and agree to what I'm saying. It is just sort of my 5 cents being a mobility investor and sort of what I see in the overall mobility space happening. So when we now take our perspective and look at cities, what's going to happen in cities, everyone is talking these days about resiliency and that cities have to become resilient. I agree, cities have to become resilient. But the big question here is, how much money will the cities have left to invest in new systems? Because if we think about it, resiliency means that you bounce back once you're challenged and you bounce back stronger. So you have a type of infrastructure that allows you to do that. We do not have an infrastructure yet. So the question is, with all of the investments in the health space, with the reduced income for cities, where will be the budgets from in order to invest in that type of resiliencies? I hope that we will see more data-driven approaches, given that governmental officials might have seen the value of, the tracing apps that are used to combat the pandemic and other data-driven sort of methodologies, and more sort of trust in that. But that remains really a big question mark for me. Another point which speaks to the competence of resiliency is flexibility. So the flexibility to change quickly. And there's a really interesting point. So actually, I do think that cities have now proven that they can change really quickly and repurpose space in a city. So it's now been repurposed for restaurants, for new bicycle lanes, and so on. So this is almost like opening the box of Pandora, because what happens if you do that is the people that live in a city will help government officials accountable and tell them, why don't we test out more things? We saw we could do it. Nobody really actually died from taking away 10% of the parking spaces downtown Munich. So why is there now more willingness to sort of change and adapt? And that box of Pandora is now open. I think there will be a lot of challenging thoughts communicated towards city officials. And that brings me to the next point in regards to cities, which is the inclusion part. I truly believe that it's now the perfect point in time to include more people in terms of the urban city planning when it comes to splitting up bike lanes, micro-mobility lanes, and so on, because people actually want to have active participation in how their city looks and how mobility works in their city. And given the overall trend, people being more active in regards to political causes, I do think that there will be a movement in regards to hopefully being a bit more inclusive in the city planning. So another sort of midterm trend that I see is that by now it's quite clear to almost everyone that shared mobility is probably going to take a little bit more time in the US. Why? Well, it's expensive as hell, we all know. Just to launch these kind of businesses, they burn a lot of cash. And on top of that, people now don't want to ride anymore because they're concerned of their health. And they might not even need the Uber ride anymore on the 101. Everyone ever lived in San Francisco knows how horrible this highway is. And don't need to use that sort of optionality. So the question here, and now this brings me to the long-term play, is how is it going to fit into the autonomous sort of world and setup? We all know how costly it is to develop autonomous systems. So many companies have miserably failed. There have been partnerships created. Sometimes I call them forced marriages between also sometimes some OEMs that were rivals before or still are rivals and competitors in other areas. But this areas they're partnering, because it's just so complex. So if we now match this together, it's quite obviously that given the scale and the efficiencies that come with scale, an autonomous future will be most likely combined with a ride-sharing fleet type of future. So the question is, what happens to the one person, one vehicle era? It still is unanswered. We have seen now a change in the pandemic. We've seen a massive uptake on used car vehicle sales. Actually, this is economically driven. We might see people that actually define a premium type of experience and being on their own alone in their safe space, which might take us to a concept which is not even related to a vehicle anymore, but to a concept of a space and an experience, which might be connected to mobility. So it remains interesting, that is for sure. And in regards in context to sustainability, circular economy is one of the biggest trends right now, sort of opening up opportunities to the OEM space. And that is because if you just on your own, just think of the first car you drove. I don't know about you guys, but I drove a really shitty old car, which my mother sort of inherited to me. She's like, just take that car. You don't know how to drive. You just got your driver's license. Didn't take much for me to crash that car, to be honest. I'm still a quite bad driver. And back then I always wondered, so why come that this perfectly okay car is now crashed, not massively, but now it's just worth $100 and a garage telling me that this is the worth of the car. It is obviously because the car's active life cycle ends then. The parts of the cars dismantled, certain parts of the cars will be sold on the second market, and other components of the cars will be, sent to an ecosystem where, again, most of the time, people with a social setup that doesn't allow them for other optionalities will try to, take out of the cars the most valuable pieces and parts in order to sell them. So why don't we extend the life cycle of a car in a circular economy perspective and take the most valuable resources, known that there is resource constraints on the entire planet, and just bring them back into the cycle of the car. So this is a very interesting space. It is an area that is well explored for other industries, but it's sort of new to the auto industry. And I'm super happy and proud to say that the BMW Group is super active in that space and engages and declared this as a #1 priority in the field to watch for the future. Same goes for carbon capturing and low impact materials. These are sustainability areas which sort of my team from the iVenture side is watching. Super interesting developments, so much happening in the space. And, overall, you can definitely say that with all of the companies that declared CO2 neutrality targets, they will have to include technologies from the startup world to achieve these targets, not just from the mobility space, from the overall space. So this is why I have the firm conviction that there will not be any financial attractive investments in the future without impact, positive impact. So this is sort of something that will go together in the future. So for the ones out there that might still wonder, why do we actually need systems change in mobility? It's obviously mobility contributes massively to CO2 emissions. And I hope I have also made the case and made some of you a bit more sensitive that mobility has a massive part in saying in regards to social injustice. Having a mobility option or not having a mobility option can make a crucial difference whether a person can get to work or not. So if you are a mobility entrepreneur there is inherently a social component to your business. And obviously, in an ever complex and more dynamic environment, we will need more mobility solutions that can actually reflect that complexity and address that complexity by reducing it. So I was asked to also answer, how will technology help us to solve the challenges that are ahead of us? So here's what I think. It will not help us. And I'm saying this because it's not technology that will make the difference. You are the one, you are the person that's going to make the difference. It is your wise usage of technology that will actually make the difference. So as a mission-driven company, I believe that you have everything it takes in order to outperform the market. You actually are a purpose-driven founder and therefore inherently have the motivation to continuously thrive and drive and grow your company. You have the competitive edge that it needs in order to hire the best people, to have access to the best resources, also financially, and to build a compelling brand. So in saying that, it's all about how you define your contribution and being part of that oneness that we all share together. I'm super happy that I was invited to speak here to all of you founders. I wish you the best of luck, success, joy, passion, everything you need for your ride. Thanks for having me today.
And thank you, Sohalia, for being with us tonight. I know we are very fortunate to have you here, and thank you for taking your time, especially for your inspirational, motivational, and extremely insightful keynote. Now, next up, we have 2 more teams coming to pitch for us tonight. But the next team cannot join us personally here on stage. They have to come remote due to various corona regulations, but fret not, this will be great. Now, with further ado, let me introduce you to our cargo bike solution, Velofracht. Jonas, do you hear us? Thumbs up if you do, please. He does. Fantastic. One step further. We're sorting out the tech issue right now. Jonas is joining us all the way from Freiburg, correct? Thumbs up if that's correct. All right, in the meantime, why don't you show us your video of your prototype? We'll show that first, and then you go straight into your pitch. All right, we have some technical difficulties, but we're not going to let this shy away from introducing our next startup. So Tristan, the stage is yours.
Turn it up, please. Thanks. So yeah, yesterday I was actually watching ZDF and the same thing happened there. It was a special about American elections, so we're not the only ones. So yeah, I guess everybody or we all need to deal with remote and Corona times. So, but no problem. We have our next pitch. We have our next team. Actually, the first time I was talking to them, I was really impressed. I was basically talking to 3 guys and 1 lady with a PhD degree. So at some point, I just didn't say anything anymore because I had the feeling like way more smarter people than I am. So yeah, let's give it up for Farsad, giving a warm welcome. Welcome on stage.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, the train to Essen has 15 minutes delay due to technical problem. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that more than 10 million euro per day we all are paying just for the maintenance in rail infrastructure of Germany, and still we have more than 30% delay in the trains because the maintenance action are performing either too late or too early. The solution is predicting the best time and type of maintenance action. For this aim, we have a data-oriented solution, includes 2 standalone products. The first product is our Data Hunter. Data Hunter is a package of software, camera, and sensors which will be installed on different components of the trains and send the data as a real-time monitoring from the trains. In parallel, we have Data Farmer. Data Farmer is a simulation as a service platform which the train operators and infrastructure managers can simulate a running train over the infrastructure. So we collect data, I mean the result of the simulation and the collected data from the sensors in our server to improve the AI system and the machine learning algorithm. And at the end, we'll deliver the predictive maintenance plan to both infrastructure manager and train operators. I would like to start the story of Data Farmer or PantoHealth. We just left a super technical paper in the LinkedIn, and we received more than 200 reactions, 14 comments, and 2 projects from this paper, which was about the dynamic interaction of pantograph and catenary. We saw the traction in the market, and we developed a simulation as a service platform for simulating pantograph and catenary in the web platform. The engineer of the infrastructure manager will come and insert the data, look like the length of the cable, the tension, and whatever, and just press the run, and at the end, they will receive the result of the simulation. In such cases, the simulation is a mandatory because the standards and regulation push the train operators and infrastructure manager to do simulation before running a new train. We estimated that by using a simulation as a service platform, we can reduce the cost of the simulation from 4,000 euro per simulation to 1,000 euro per simulation, which is 500 million euro per year. In parallel, we have these sensors and camera. As I said, we will install these sensors on different components of different trains. We'll collect data from them and provide the monitoring platform for our customers. They will see that if anything is wrong with their train or infrastructure before an accident happens. According to the McKinsey paper, the real-time monitoring can reduce the cost of the maintenance by 20%. It means 2 billion euro per year globally. As I said, at the end, we'll combine the result of the simulation and the result of the condition monitoring or real-time monitoring in our AI system. And we will support the infrastructure manager and train operators by our predictive maintenance plan per kilometer of infrastructure. And we will charge them annually by this kilometer length of the infrastructure. In this market, we are the only one who are using the simulation as a service platform or the synthetic data in our machine learning algorithm. In Partner, we have a patented technique in our measurement. We send a mechanical pulse to any moving part of the train, and by analyzing the response, we will be aware of any malfunction in suspension system, springs, and dampers of the trains. In our two earlier stage or standalone product, we have our business model, and each of them can be profitable. As you can see, each of them needs a bit of investment, and little by little, it's gonna to be profitable. But after 2 years from now, we'll launch our predictive maintenance platform, which use the results of both earlier stage products and release the reports to our customers. We started with the use case of pantograph and catenary, and we got the Imagine2030 program and their support. Later, we got a paid pilot project from DBNet, the infrastructure manager of Germany, for the simulation program. And they asked us to simulate a specified length of the catenary. Later, we got our first paid pilot project from Infrabel, the infrastructure manager of Belgium. And it's about our data hunter. We'll install our hardware next week on their measurement train. And then we got the support of the EXIST program by helping the Technical University of Berlin. And also we got the award of the second startup in DBNet's challenge. Now we are looking for investment for our developing our hardware and also our simulation software. And in addition, we are actively looking for pilot projects to extend our application. I'm Farzad Vesali, a PhD in railway engineering, and I am CEO of the team. Mortaza, a master in software engineering, is our technology officer, and he's supporting us in software challenge. Mina is a PhD student in energy system and environment, and she's our operation manager. And Amir is our hardware manager. He is a master in vibration engineering. Thank you.
Damages are still happening, but they shouldn't.
I would like to play a short video and introduce ourselves.
Damages are still happening, but they shouldn't. PantoHealth tries to disrupt railway maintenance industry by providing reliable predictive maintenance. Gathering real data from monitoring devices and generating synthetic data using simulation enables PantoHealth to predict best time and action plan to have more reliable railway operation.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Farzad. What an amazing pitch and what an amazing journey for you guys. We're really proud to have you in the program. And it's really great to see what you guys have achieved. And we will continue to keep on following and watching you and looking forward to hear about more future success. So yeah, obviously you're still in the startup phase of your company. So you need financial resources, right, to grow your company. What type of financial resources are you looking for?
Okay. Actually, as I said before, we are partially supported by the EXIST grants, but we are actively looking for investments because we are going to extend our application to other use cases of trains. And also, we are going to develop more hardware and server and sensors for other components of the train. That's why we are needing for 4 million euro as a runway of 4 years. And during this 4 years, we will develop more use cases, and also we'll hire more researchers, because we need this simulation as service for other components and other infrastructures like bridges, tunnels, and something like that. So we are looking for investments.
All right, and tell me one more thing, please. Installing hardware on trains is a complicated process, especially here in Germany. So how will you overcome and master this challenge?
Okay, yeah, we actually thought about that. As you said, in Germany, it's super difficult to install hardware on train because of regulation and standards. But as I said, we are data-oriented solution, and we are looking for data, not just installing the hardware. So sooner or later, the trains with sensors are coming. The new trains all have these sensors, and we are collecting data from their sensors. In addition, we are installing hardware on the neighbors of the Germany, look like Brussels. So their train will come to the infrastructure of Germany and collect data from our platform. It's a barrier, but not super big barrier. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for this answer. Good luck with everything. Good luck with the future. A lot of success to you guys, and thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So now our director tells us that Velofracht is ready. So let's give it one more try. Let's give it up for Velofracht.
Hi guys. I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, I think we can all agree that I owe the Imagine2030 team a round of beers for clicking the wrong button not once, twice. But yeah, the irony is that I've been running a software company for over 10 years, but that's just the way it is. So, I'm Jonas. I have been a part of Velofracht since last year. And Nico, my co-founder, unfortunately can't be here today, but because he's out sick. But I will present a little our company that we started at the beginning of the year. So this is where it started. Nico, who's a certified artist, built the world's largest cargo bike. It has 8 wheels, 2 seats, and 10 square meters of room, also solar panels. And he built it to make a statement about space, public space, what to use it for and what's allowed and what's not allowed in public spaces. Basically, if you're sitting inside a car, you get a lot of space. If not, you don't get a lot of space. So this was the topic. It was quite popular, and there a lot of interesting connections started. And Nico met pretty much everybody who's anybody in the cargo bike scene in Germany and Europe, which was at that time, this was 5-6 years ago, still quite a small scene. And this is us now. We have a workshop here at Motion Lab. We have 5 employees and building, I'll show you in a second, but using all different materials, 3D printing, laser, CNC. We're up to date with all the techniques, and we're building custom bodies for cargo bikes. So we're not building cargo bikes themselves. Our bodies turn cargo bikes into platforms for professional mobility. We build custom bodies for businesses that want to use cargo bikes to find new customers or to just save money, to access new, to access spaces where they're not allowed to go anymore. And yeah, you've seen a great variation from kindergartens to undertakers and everything in between. And when we build a custom body, when we build something for a business, we evaluate and see if there's a bigger market for it, if there's something that we can turn into a product. And these are 2 of our products that we already have. These are scalable serial products that we're selling to cargo bike companies. And these are two parts of our business. The one thing is custom bodies for all kinds of businesses, and serial products that we mostly sell to cargo bike companies, and that they themselves sell to their customers so they can sell more cargo bikes. These are our current clients. These are all the big names in cargo bikes in Germany and Europe. And we're selling quite a lot, as you can see, because the cargo bike market is growing rapidly. 2 years ago, this is a survey that was done this year, and it's been growing 50% year over year. And this is where we see a lot of opportunity, because many of the cargo bikes are sold to families, but businesses are looking to use them as well. They're trying to, they're making up ideas to use cargo bikes, and we're helping them with that. And it's working quite well. Our biggest challenge currently is scaling up. We're lucky to have this location at MotionLab because it allows short-term access to larger spaces and to manpower as well. We doubled our volume last year and will double turnover, and we plan to triple again next year. And this makes it necessary to professionalize. So we streamline our processes. We reduce time for the custom builds from 16 to 6 weeks. We have a single point of contact for our customers now, and we have professional project management that makes a big difference. This is our team. Nico, the CEO, brings us the cargo bike expertise and the product vision. He knows everything there is to know about cargo bikes, and he knows everybody. I used to run a software company, and I have a lot of experience scaling, working with teams, working with numbers, and together we founded the company because we both want to make this happen. We met through the Cargo Bike Fans Berlin. This is a group that was around 8 to 10 years ago, just people interested in cargo bikes. And we have Wiebke doing project management, Boris running our workshop, Christoph doing product design and planning, and Patrick and Frauke working in the workshop with textiles and everything else. Right, we have an approach that's very close to our heart. We want to use materials that are separable and recyclable. So there's a lot of, in the manufacturing industry, there's a lot of plastics and components being very melded together, so they're not easily recyclable. And our goal is to make stuff that works for a long time. And when it doesn't work, we can recycle it. Also, we want to create a family-friendly working environment. Pretty much all of our employees and Nico and me have children. And we have a lot of part-time work, and we're building processes that make that possible. Also, we want to go on a sustainable growth path through bootstrapping, and it's been working quite well so far. So we are building new products pretty much every month. We've built products for kindergartens, event agencies, janitors, gardeners, and many more. You can find a lot of examples on our website. And we're looking for first movers and partners to get cargo bikes into new professional sectors, for new businesses. Well, not new businesses, existing business that want to use cargo bikes, new to us. So get in touch if that's you, if you can help us do that. And help us fulfill our vision, which is to bring our society from the car to the bicycle. And together we make it happen. You've seen our film before. I don't know if we'll play it again. But, oh yeah, so I see we're playing it again, which is one of our products that we built recently. It's, our top seller is a tarp. It's pretty simple, but it's invaluable for businesses that just want to move stuff because you need rain protection. It's simple, but it's not easy to build. And we turned it into a market stand for a Norwegian bakery. So they can sell they can transport their product and sell it from a cargo bike trailer. So here's the video. Hope you enjoy.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our 5 zebra startups and their amazing moonshot, maybe, potentially, but innovative ideas that are daring to change the future and make a system change within mobility. Now we're getting to possibly my favorite part of the evening, the Startup Awards. So this means that you guys now need to, as an audience, vote within 3 categories for our winners. This means please go on to menti.com and use that code, which is 135745, or use the QR code on your screen to log in. I repeat, the code is 135745 on menti.com. All right. Now let's open to the first question. So, dear audience, it's your time to vote for the winner of who you think is the greatest dreamer or visionary of our 5 startups. And the winner of this category will receive 2 donations in your name of a needy cause, one being a water bucket that filters water, and the other being a food package for a family that needs it in terms to nurture and give themselves food to nourish themselves. Now, looking on the prospect, I see Horizer is leading the way. Oh, PantoHealth has just snuck up. Oh, no, Akkio is there again. We've got Uma, but Horizer is still taking the lead. Is this going to change? Oh, Akkio. Sure, this is like the election in the US. All right, I can't quite see how many people have voted yet, as I don't have my glasses on and I'm relatively blind. Thank you that you think that's very funny, Kai. All right, now I can see it on this side. 36 people. I see some movement, but Horizer still seems to have the lead. Oh, Oma. Getting very excited there in the back. All right, again, the prize that the startup will receive is they will in their name be donating a bucket of water that filters the water, as well as a care package of food for a family in need. All right, I don't see much of a change. So at this point, I'd like to invite our winners on stage, Horizer. Welcome. All right, Corona's safe. Please, everyone put on your masks.
Hello. All right, thank you very much. This is my team, Martin, Jasmina, and Mirko, and thank you for the votes. So, yeah, we are happy to receive a prize. And actually, what was the question?
You have won in the category of the greatest dreamer or visionary. Congratulations. Here's your prize.
Oops.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to say, without my team, this wouldn't be happening. So thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have in the category, who is most likely to succeed? This is an interesting one. Now, the prize for this is, in your name, 2 trees will be donated to be planted and hopefully grow to be massive and have an encompassing lifestyle. All right, again, Horizer in the lead, but Velofracht close behind. Uma, you making your way up there? All right, it seems to be, oops. It's a tight vote. Horizer, you really on fire tonight, aren't you? The prize again for the category of who is most likely to succeed is the name of having 2 trees donated in your name to be planted. 20 trees, I am mistaken. 20 trees, even better. That's like almost a quarter of a field, depending on the tree size, I suppose. All right. I think we have a winners again this time. Horizer, do you guys all want to come up again?
Thank you, Talia, so much. It is a great honor that you believe in us so much.
So good to have you here. I'm just keeping my distance, but here's your prize.
Thank you again.
Congratulations.
Thank you, team.
All right, for our final category and our final award for tonight, the big announcement goes out for who do you think had the best pitch? Was it PantoHealth? Was it Horizer? Was it Akkio, Uma, or Velofracht? Now, let's the voting begin. All right, and this prize is also from Oxfam, just like your previous 3 prizes, but this time the startup will be donating a goat in Uganda and Mozambique, if I'm not mistaken. All right, ooh. Horizer and Akkio have won. 2 goats. Big celebrations all around. All right, let's not all come on stage because of Corona, but if we have 2 representatives of each team at least here to accept the award.
Where's my goat?
Oh. All right.
All right, Akkio and Horizer, Gregor and Hannes, congratulations. Well done, teams.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to pass this over to you, and if you have anything to say, please go ahead.
Nice. It's a goat.
All right. Now, before we head off into our virtual booth, please welcome my colleague, Laura, on stage for the final words.
So, here we are. This exciting event almost comes to an end, but almost, because please stay with us. As Taylor said, there are going to be the Q&As with the startups right after the slot. But I want to use this opportunity to really reinforce a message that is really important to us and that I hope came really out of this evening. You know, we are all here because we really feel the responsibility for driving this positive change that also Sohaila was talking about. So it's really about driving this change. So we want to solve the challenges in mobility, just as CO2 emissions, the combustion, and also insecurities and inequalities. And all those challenges that show us that we are in this together. So it's all about building partnerships. And that's my message for you now. We can only solve those challenges if we have more like-minded people together. So we want to build this herd, and we need more zebras in our herd. So this is exactly what we want to let you know. We welcome you in our herd. So if you're a potential partner, an expert, or a mentor for our teams, a trainer, you're a zebra company yourself, or also a multiplicator who just want to help us spread the word, reach out to us. We already look forward to collaborating with you. That was very important for me. And now there's just one last announcement that I want to make. And we told you already, so I know you are eagerly waiting for the Q&As with the startups. And this is exactly what is going to happen right now. So how can you join those Q&As? The startups will be there at 7:50 in their virtual booth, and you can enter those booths by clicking on the left side on your browser. You can see that there is the very first one, I think, is reception, then you have stage, and then you have exhibition, in German Ausstellung. And if you click on this icon, then you will see all those booths, and we are happy to welcome you there. The startups are already waiting for your questions. And yes, today the work with our wonderful teams came to an end. But that doesn't mean that Imagine 2030 comes to an end. No, we are already preparing our next round, which is going to start in February 2021, so early next year. And the good news is that we are, of course, waiting for your applications. So if you also have a good idea for driving this positive change that we talked a lot about today, then we look already forward to your application that you can do on the platform F6S. And you also can find the link for this application on our website. And if you have some questions regarding this application, then the good news is there will also be a Q&A to answer your questions with our wonderful colleagues, Teresa and Sebastian, already waiting for you. So this was the last announcement that I could make. So what stays for us to say is a huge thank you to our keynote speaker, Sohaila, who was really inspiring us wonderfully. I want to thank all the teams for the wonderful work that we did together. Thank you for your hard work. Only with your hard work, those wonderful presentations were possible today. And for you, dear audience, thank you for being with us for the last 1.5 hours. It was really a pleasure to do this event for you. And I want to thank you also, our technical team. Without this one, this event wouldn't have been possible. So thanks a lot. And I can only say, stay healthy, take care. And we are already waiting for you in our virtual booth. Thanks a lot.